65.
Because I feel. Oh, you already adjusted. All right, we're gonna start the meeting at this time. We're gonna convene the meeting. Ready? Okay. Well, good evening. It's Thursday, 6:30, June 21st, already halfway through the year. The year just started. But welcome to the council meeting for the Village of Royal Palm Beach. And we ask you all to please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Diane, please let the record show that all members of council are present, and glad to have you back. Glad everything is good for you. Okay? Okay. Tonight we're going to start out with a proclamation for the Recreation and Parks Month, which is, I believe, the month of July. So let me read it from here. So whereas parks and recreation programs enhance our quality of life by contributing to a healthy lifestyle, community building, economic development, and environmental sustainability, and the Village Parks of Recreation Park Department conducts over 200 recreational, cultural, and social community events, boosts the economy, and attracts new families and business, and reduces crime. Whereas Royal Palm Beach is a home to more than 1,000 acres of parks, trails, green space, and preserves, along with 55 miles of paid shared use pathways and 38 miles of designated bicycle lanes that inspire residents and visitors with recreational opportunities and scenic beauty. And whereas recreation builds family unity, strengthens neighborhood involvement, offers opportunities for social and interaction, and enhances education and develops creativity and promotes cultural diversity. And whereas our parks and our trails ensure ecological beauty, provide space to enjoy nature, help maintain clean air and water, and preserve plant and wildlife. And whereas local, state, and national parks located within the state of Florida contribute to the overall quality of life enjoyed by residents and visitors to our state. And whereas the National Recreation and Park Association and the Florida Recreation and Park Association has designated July as Recreation and Parks Month. I bet you didn't know parks did so much for us, right? You just thought they were just there, passive, but you see how important it is, and I'm always proud to talk about how we have more parks per capita per citizen in the Village of Royal Palm Beach than any city in the Palm Beach County. So therefore, I, Fred Pinto, Mayor of the Village of Royal Palm Beach, do hereby extend greetings and best wishes to all observing July 2018 as Recreations and Parks Month, signed and sealed this 21st day of June 2018. So where's Lou? Come on out, Lou. Is Lou here?
Yeah, he's
okay. Will the council join me in the picture, please?
Sure.
There he is. Mr. Parks. Come on. You know, pretty much every city has, even the county has a person who has a job like Lou in charge of parks. Lou's a big fan among the other cities, because he's got Royal Palm Beach, and he's got all the parks.
All right, everybody say cheese.
Parks, trees.
forward.
Okay. Love those parks. Now, how do I get out of this? Tonight we have a special guest here who's going to give us a presentation of the 211 Palm Beach and Treasure Coast Helpline Program. We're going to be hearing from the president and CEO, Ms. Sharon LaRue. Thanks for coming, Sharon. Please come up. I hope so.
Nope. Should be up there.
Is the mic on?
There we go.
Okay.
All right. Well, good evening, and thank you for giving me some time to share with you what we do at the 211 Helpline. We are the local community helpline and hotline. We are a private nonprofit organization that serves Palm Beach County, Martin, St. Lucie, Okeechobee, and Indian River. In this service, our vision is that all people who need support would be able to get the support they need to weather life storms. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we do that. So as a helpline, that's a helpline and a hotline. That means we cover a lot of different territories. So people can dial the 3-digit number 211 or text us 898-211 or chat with us or email us. So what kinds of things do people reach out to us about? These are some of the things that we are going to hear in any given day. I'm worried about my aging mom. My son's acting out in school. I just lost my job. My boyfriend hits me. The kids in school are teasing me. I'm about to be kicked out of my house. I don't know what to do. And we hear this just about every day, that I want to die.
Yes, he's up.
So our staff are trained crisis prevention counselors to be able to talk to people about all of these different kinds of things. The phone lines, as I said, are answered 24/7, and the text service, which is new in the last few years, which is another reason we're trying to get out and make sure that citizens are aware of it, is 24/7 as well. Staff are trained, they are not therapists, but they're trained crisis prevention counselors, so we work closely with them so that they know how to work with people. When you call, what we do is we listen to you. We find out what's going on. Sometimes people tell us that the most important thing was that they were able to talk to somebody who really cared. You know, sometimes when we're struggling, we feel like nobody else understands, and that sometimes people tell us they feel like nobody else cares. So our staff care a lot, listen to you, find out what's going on, and our organization maintains a list, a repository of all of the services in the entire region. So right now, what that covers is it's about 1,500 different agencies that represent close to 7,000 different services. So when our staff are listening and talking to you, finding out about what's going on with you, we are finding out where you're located, and we're going to connect you with services. We're going to give you information about what's there, what's available for you. All right. We are regional responders. So a lot of people don't know this, but I'm sure that everyone here has heard the promotion of the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline because of the recent celebrity suicides and the talk about mental health. Well, not everybody knows that if you dial that number in this area, it rings to our center. So our staff at 211 are answering the calls for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. We also have a national grant. We're one of 3 centers in the nation that handles the Lifeline's suicidal chats. So our staff are trained. We competed for that. We've got a high level of quality to be able to do that. We answer Palm Beach County's rape and violent crime helpline. We help with the Alzheimer's Community Care Crisis Line, the Substance Awareness Coalition, and we do some work with addiction as well. People always want to know, how are the staff trained and what are our credentials? And I've even heard, although I don't hear this very much anymore, I've heard people say things like 211 doesn't really know mental health. But really, we are the the crisis line with National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. So we are the only one in the entire area, and we have that designation because we're accredited by the American Association of Suicidology. So the field of mental health and the field of suicide prevention is a field with a peer-reviewed journal where research is done and we try to figure out how to best save lives. We're not guessing about that. We want to follow the best practice standards that have been set out by the field. So we follow those best practice standards and we're accredited by that organization. We also participate with other 211s throughout the nation and United Way with a project called Contact USA Flu on Call. And so that's if there were a pandemic, we're one of the centers that would be ramped up to be able to respond to that kind of emergency. We're certified with the Florida Council Against Sexual Violence and locally with Nonprofits First. So we're well credentialed. It takes a lot of time and energy to get those credentials. A lot of people want to know just what does it look like. You know, it's a typical crisis center building. We are in an undisclosed location here in Palm Beach County, but we have the phones and we have a lot of technology. So that's a picture of our reader board, which shows us every minute of every day exactly what's happening, who's on the phone, what calls have come in. We get close to 300 calls a day on average on the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Last year, we got about 3,000 suicide-related calls. Because of the recent prominence of suicide in the news, our calls on that line tend to go. They do. So in June, I just looked at that. We've already gotten more than 600 calls on the Lifeline, and that's more than double what it was last year.
Can I just ask you a question about that?
Sure.
So you're saying there's a direct correlation to when there's a news blast about something like that happening?
There is a
That gets people more inclined to think about doing that?
that there's a direct correlation. There's something actually called, the term they use for it is suicide contagion. And yeah, it's been more studied over the last few years, and we're not entirely sure what's going on, but they speculate that it's several different factors. One is that people who are already feeling vulnerable, when we hear about a celebrity who we've lost, people grieve and people feel a personal connection. You know, sometimes people feel as if they know that person, you know, because we've seen into their lives. We've seen children, spouses, relationships. We may have followed them over many years. So they're grieving a personal connection. They may already be feeling vulnerable. The other thing that sometimes people say is that if that person is struggling, you know, and they have resources
Look at
and they
them.
have
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
right. So people struggle. People struggle when that happens. Now, what we want is we want people to reach out. So not everybody who called was necessarily at the end of their rope. If you're just thinking and you're struggling and you want to talk to somebody, we're there for you.
Do you know, or are you able to track how many people you successfully talk off the ledge, so to speak?
Well, almost everyone that calls us, we are able to successfully talk through. Now, because we're a confidential anonymous service, we don't follow up with people over time. So I don't have
You're
the
not able to do that.
longitudinal numbers, but the research does suggest, most of the research nationally suggests that that suicide is often a very impulsive act and that people usually don't want to die so much as they want to not be in pain.
Yeah.
So what is happening sometimes in those moments is that people feel very, very desperate in that moment. But if you can interrupt that moment and get them through that moment, then often they go on to lead happy, productive lives. And a lot of people who've survived attempts talk about that. And we get calls. We get calls every week where people say that we saved their lives. And sometimes when we talk to the person later, they sound like a completely different person.
Is
So
there a disparity between the number of young people, teenagers, versus older people?
yeah, there is. And CDC just put out some new research. Now, unfortunately, and I didn't bring all the numbers with me, so I'm going from memory.
I'm not trying to put you on the
yeah,
spot.
no, it's okay. Unfortunately, what's happening is the number of suicides nationwide has gone up significantly in the last 15 years. So we're still seeing that adults actually are more vulnerable than younger, even though we're worried about the increasing rates of younger. We are seeing increasing rates of younger kids, so teens, and most concerning of all, in my opinion, are the increasing rates of the really young kids. So 10 to 14-year-olds, that rate has been going up. And that's one of the reasons that we launched, I know, isn't it awful? That's one of the reasons that we do the that we launched texting a few years ago because people are talking about, the younger generations are more willing to, more comfortable texting, even though sometimes we think, does that make sense? It doesn't matter if it makes sense to us, right? What matters is that we are available in whatever way the person who's struggling wants to reach out to us. in.
Sharon, are you using other forms of social media to communicate with these teens through Snapchat or?
No, right now we're using primarily phone, text, and chat, regular chat. We're not using Snapchat. We'll look at that as time goes on, and I do talk to my team about the fact, it took us, I feel like we were a little late to the game with texting, actually. And so what I've said to my team is, it doesn't stop with texting, it begins with texting. Right? We need to be paying attention to what's next. But it is challenging as an organization to make sure that you, one, have the technology, keep up with the technology, pay for the technology, and make sure your staff is trained and that there are protocols that make sense using that technology. When we got that Lifeline chat grant, no one on our team had ever done suicidal chats. And the first thing that they asked was, when people chat with us, I can tell them to call, right? And I thought, well, maybe. So I called Lifeline and I said, this is what my team is asking. And Lifeline said, no, don't do that. That your staff is responding because they're not comfortable with that. So if they practice, they'll get comfortable with it, and they need to get comfortable with it. And that's exactly what happened. So we are working to stay up to date. That's a good question. All right, and speaking of that, I wanted to make sure I shared with you some of the newest things that we are working on over the last year. We were able to secure a grant last year that I'm very, very proud of that gave us all new computers, a new phone system, a new roof, that was a separate grant, and email migration. So you start getting nervous when you run a crisis line and your computers are crashing and your phone system is 10 years old. So we desperately needed that infusion of funding for our infrastructure, and we're very proud of that. Texting service, as I said, went 24/7 about a year ago. We launched it about 3 years ago. Our 211 staff are trained as trainers in suicide prevention curricula. So there are two different ones. One is called Assist, and that's the one that is promoted through Lifeline. We're trained as trainers in that, as well as mental health first aid for youth. So we go out into the community and conduct training. And we participate in various task forces. So all of the social issues that are out there, as best as we can with the small team we have, we participate. So we sit on the opioid task forces, the poverty, Healthier Together, Diabetes Coalition, hunger, elderly, special needs, and so on. I passed out, and you have some data on what happened last year, and I'm not going to go over this in detail, but I wanted you to know that last year we responded to over 100,000 requests for help. Over 60,000 of those were from Palm Beach County. That represented over 100,000 different, what we call needs, so different issues, and visits to our database as well. The percent of calls that relate to mental health and substance abuse has been going up. So that used to be less than a quarter of our calls, and now it's, this past year in 2017, it was 27%. You can see the chart there where that's the biggest single quadrant. In addition to our helpline and hotline, we have some advocacy staff who are able to provide additional support for some vulnerable populations, including children. So if you have a child 0 to 8 and you're not sure about their development, you can call 211 and we can connect you with an advocate who will actually do a questionnaire with you over the phone for free to make sure your child's developing on track. We have some support for elders who are in crisis. We do have a team of volunteers who make daily phone calls to isolated elders to make sure they're okay. That's totally free. And we do have a special needs advocate as well. We do some seasonal things. So we support United Way's VITA free tax program. We have a summer meals program, back to school. We do stuff related to flu season, diabetes awareness, hurricanes. I want to skip over that when nobody wants to talk about that, right? It's not going to happen this year. I wanted to summarize and then leave you a couple of minutes for questions, but we are a free, confidential service. We are 24/7 serving all of Palm Beach and the Treasure Coast. We help connect you with the services that are there. We serve all ages, and we're there to listen and care about you without you feeling judged. And I want to make sure, you didn't know you were having an assignment today, but I'm going to give an assignment to everyone. Everyone, you need to help make sure that everyone you know knows that this free service is here.
Couldn't agree more.
Thank you so much. And I am available for questions if you have any.
So- Go ahead.
Good.
So I have one question. Do you work with the school district at all?
We work with the school district extensively, and one of the challenges is our service area is so large. The school district is a very large entity. I have just one staff person who does all of the outreach for Palm Beach County, and she might be in Belle Glade at a presentation in the morning, she might be at a school in the afternoon, and she might be someplace else in the evening. So we do work with them. It's just challenging to be everywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
You mentioned you'd gotten a grant to get some work done. Principally, what is your
did.
funding model?
Well, I tease that if you're a nonprofit, your primary funding model is begging for pennies. So we accept donations. But we do have some local funding support. We get some support from Palm Beach County and from the other counties that we serve. We have 6 United Ways that partner with us, 3 children's services councils. We get some funding from the state to help support the Help Me Grow program, and then a variety of grants from quite a few foundations. So we patch it together. It's like a quilt.
Right.
Wow. Very informative. Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Selena?
Just thank you very much. And actually, Randy came and spoke. We had a senior citizen ad hoc group, so she came and did a presentation as well for our senior services.
Oh,
So thank you very
wonderful.
much.
Randy's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming this evening. This is a very important piece of set of information for our community. And you took the words out of my mouth. I always say we've got services out there. We need to let people know about it.
That's
and what
right.
we find is many times the problem is there's not an awareness of the availability of
Exactly.
these services
Exactly.
to take advantage of.
Almost every new community group that convenes to talk about an issue, if a 211 representative isn't there, I'll get a call saying that the first thing they felt like we needed to do was create a resource directory. And I say, oh, it hurts my heart. We spend a lot of time doing this and keeping this up, and it's there, and we need to support the infrastructure that exists so more people get the help they need. All right. Thank you so much.
Right.
Thank you.
Karen.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for coming. Wow, that was informative. Very, very
Appropriate, too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it is appropriate tonight. All right, we're going to go to the reports right now, and I have to provide you an update because this morning, because it's the third Thursday of the month, we have the Transportation Planning Agency monthly meeting, and a couple of points I want to share with you that were shared at the meeting this morning. Let me find the notes. Okay, there was an update on State Road 7, but the village manager is going to give us an update tonight on this, so I don't want to give you the same information that he's going to give, so I'll supplement him when he gives his report on State Road 7 information that was done and that we got at the meeting this morning. There's also, well, this is also State Road 7. Yeah. There was this interesting discussion that a few times I've mentioned to you that one of the topics that comes before the TPA is the subject called mobility fees. Right now, there's something in place that the county uses called impact fees, and it's collected to pay for infrastructure projects, roads, and it's attached to homes, new homes being built. It's a fee that's collected and given to the county. Well, that's come under a lot of scrutiny and discussion, and we've mentioned it a few times. In terms of where those funds, what you could spend those funds on, and there's a different interpretation by different lawyers. The county attorneys have one interpretation, and the TPA's attorney doesn't have quite the same interpretation. So the discussion goes further because many cities, like, for example, West Palm Beach, are looking at putting in their own mobility fee, and this would, obviously impact or detract from what's in place with the county. The topic of discussion this morning was interesting. The TPA several weeks ago had made a formal request to the county to get certain information for them about how these impact fees were being spent. And in particular, there's a projected $380 million over the next 5 years that's supposed to be spent. What is that being projected for? One of the principal concerns that we have in different cities is that you the citizens pay into this, or the impact fees are collected, and they can be used on projects that have nothing to do with our city. It could be done miles and miles away from where we are. So that's a kind of a complex issue that we're working with and trying to understand. So there was an interesting discussion on that today, and we're going to continue to discuss that as basically we reaffirm to the county that the interpretation of the information we requested, that was requested by the executive director, is in fact what the TPA board would like to get from the county. And so we'll see what happens. I'll keep you posted on that. There was an establishment of what is known as a strategic planning committee or a strategic steering committee. It's a 5-member committee. The TPA started this process back in 2016, and what we do is we commission a committee every year to go through what objectives have been achieved in prior years by the TPA from a performance evaluation standpoint, and what should really be the priority and focus for the coming fiscal year. In this case, it'll be 2018, 2019. I will be a member of that committee representing the village, and so the village is represented on this steering committee, this 5-member committee for the TPA on strategic planning. We adopted a resolution today, and I always laugh at this. We adopted a resolution that's the draft fiscal year transportation improvement program for fiscal year 19 to 23. The reason why I smile because it's a draft, which means it's probably going to get some changes made to it. But here's the interesting sidebar on this. This is for fiscal year 19 to 2023. And up to now, every year when we adopted the TIP, West Palm Beach would vote against it. And the reason why they would vote against it is because it included the State Road 7 project. Well, guess what? I reported, I think last month, that the State Road 7 project has moved so far down the road that it's no longer on this program. Funding has actually been put in place for fiscal year 2018. So West Palm Beach voted yes this year to support TIP. So this is an interesting little sidebar in terms of how things progress. We'll hear more about State Road 7, obviously. We got a presentation. On one of the updates that was given, I've mentioned that there's this transition, the whole transition process of the TPA becoming a private entity, breaking away from the county. That is moving along. I'm a member of the steering committee for that project, and we had a meeting on the 12th. So I'm reporting on this today because it had to be reported on first at today's meeting. So now that it was reported to the board, I can share that information with you. But we met on the 12th, and 3 main things that we came up with there are, I mentioned to you there were the notion of providing a loan funding base for the new independent TPA. There have been talk about anywhere from 3 to X number of cities. It looks like now there's 6 cities that are lining up that will provide that loan financing model for the independent TPA. Royal Palm Beach is one of those cities. So that seems to be moving along, and I guess we'll be hearing about that. It'll be on our agenda, hopefully in the near future, to act on that and make a final determination. The duals model, I mentioned to you that this new dual structure of 10 cents per capita for the member cities of the TPA was discussed at that meeting. It was somewhat finalized that, we're looking at the recommendation being it's going to be a 10 cents per capita, and all of the member cities will have to participate in that in terms of supporting it. It's to provide funds for the independent TPA to do things that they are not allowed to do now. They're not allowed to advocate for certain initiatives or certain strategies, for example, strategies that say, let's not put all our money into putting concrete down for cars, but let's put some of the money into other modes of transportation so you can get from one point to the other without having to have a car. So it will open up an opportunity for the TPA to be more assertive in those kind of advocacies and things that are related to that. We got an update from PalmTran. PalmTran has been working on something called route performance maximization. They call it RPM. And I guess it was about, I don't know, maybe a month ago, 6 weeks ago, they actually came to the village to make a presentation to the interested citizens. I don't know what happened and how it got communicated or how they, put that out there in terms of marketing it or letting people know, but we didn't really have a good turnout from the village, and I was unfortunate. I was hoping we'd have a lot of, residents here to give their input. There is a survey that they have. I think we've had that survey posted on Vector. If anyone wanted to go in there to give their, take that survey to give their input. But the point is they have moved forward. They've made many presentations. They try to really do an outreach to the citizens in Palm Beach County. Couple of highlights that they shared today, and the details of this will be released shortly and available, made available on their website. A couple of highlights, they said there are 34 routes across Palm Beach County, bus routes. All 34 routes are going to be modified in some way, shape, or form. But of the 34, 19 are going to have what they call significant modifications made to it. So those of you who utilize the Palm Trans system, this is something you want to get dialed in on to see what impacts it may have on the route that you may be taking. One of the points they stressed was that the route modification will be less what they call penetrating in local neighborhoods, and they kind of use a euphemism that people will get some more exercise now with the new routes. In other words, you're going to have a longer way to walk from your door to where the bus stops are based on the new routing. So stay tuned. Let's take a look at that and see what that means. And we're certainly going to be looking at that to see what that means as well in terms of impact specifically for the village of Royal Palm Beach. With that, I think we'll start with, yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Through the Women's Chamber of Commerce, I had the pleasure of sitting on the Small Local Minority Women Business Enterprise Stakeholders Group through the Solid Waste Authority of Palm Beach County. And yesterday, they made, I know, they have an acronym for it, but I mispronounce it all the time. But they actually approved yesterday, so it is an equal business opportunity policies and procedures and amends to the purchasing manual. So the authority is committed to ensuring that all businesses, including small, minority, and women-owned businesses, have an opportunity to participate in the authority's procurement and contract activities. So what's nice is that they're revamping that and they're actually making it sure that they have this in place so that anyone is qualified to submit a proposal and that they are given a level playing field compared to some of the other larger companies out there. And then just a couple other things coming up is that the Royal Palm Beach Community Band has their summer concert June 26th over at Crestwood Middle School. And with July, we did the proclamation, but they're through Parks and Rec. So July 14th is the Family Fun Bike Ride. July 21st is Bark in the Park. And July 28th is the 5K Fun Run and Walk. And I look forward to the Valentis children beating me to the finish line again this year in that 5K, just one of them. But thank you.
Okay, Richard.
To add on to what Selena just said, on July 4th, we will have the 4th of July celebration at Commons Park as well. And because the mayor brought it up, the State Road 7 extension project, through work I was watching a colleague, and one of the cases, a couple after hers, was the appeal of West Palm Beach's loss in the administrative law courts. So unfortunately, the game is not over. It still is pending, but hopefully the 4th DCA will see things the right way and uphold what the administrative agency did.
Good.
So that's still out there.
Okay,
Thank you.
Jeff.
I've got an event of a different kind, nothing quite as family-oriented, but nevertheless, I wound up attending the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council monthly meeting last Friday. It takes place on the Stewart campus of the Indian River State College. They reported, the staff actually reported on a symposium that was conducted the previous Friday. It was on regional biosolids. Now, I don't know how many people know what that really means, but there are a lot more people who know now because we're more than 200 people attended. And they were able to hear about biosolids from an expert point of view. Biosolids are byproducts or residuals of wastewater treatment process. It's called wet sludge. So if you still don't have a handle on what that might be, this might get you a little closer to it. One of their bylines was, I won't get you real close, I promise.
That's good. We're good there.
Maybe it's time to rethink the 21st century human waste management for Florida. Now, that might not sound like a very intriguing, and it's probably not to a lot of people, but if you consider the population explosion that we're expecting over the next decade or so, and the impact of nutrients in our water and quality of water and things of that nature, and with technology doing what it's doing today in areas that it's never worked before, the possibility of more effective processing and better use of that product, it turned out to be a very informative symposium, and like I said, it was very well attended. Also at the Regional Planning Council meeting, we got our second update on something that we all will see come November, and that is the products of the Constitution Revision Commission. You know, once every 20 years, there's a commission put together for the purpose of going through the Constitution and seeing if there ought to be some changes made to it. And this year, we'll get to vote on those. In fact, there are going to be about 13 amendments on the ballot this year. And if that's not enough, there's some additional referendum items that could take it up to 25. So before you go into the polling booths, you really ought to be doing some homework, try to figure out, first of all, what a yes vote means, and then what a no vote means, so you can be going in the right direction whenever you decide on these. Bob Solari, who is a commissioner for Indian River County, is also a CRC member. He gave us our second update. I went over some of this once before, so I won't go over a lot of it in detail. But this time around, it was really interesting because he said, you know, I'm going to give a minority report. Obviously, he was a dissenting member of the CRC. And he explained his concerns that included things like the majority of the 13 amendments should not be handled as changes to the Constitution, but most of them probably are good candidates for some kind of legislation. He also said that the amendments in and of themselves are way too complex. They've got unintended consequences, and they're confusing. And one of the reasons that they tend to be confusing is something that's referred to as bundling. Now, if you all have any kind of cable, you know what bundles are, kind of a thing. And you often find things in, I don't know about you, but I find them in my bundle that I'm not really interested in. Well, unfortunately, some of these constitutional amendments have things in there that are not really the kinds of things that you're really interested in, or they may not make a lot of sense. Here's an example. Amendment number 9, which we'll see, has to do with offshore oil drilling, but included in that amendment is some language about vaping and whether or not you can use e-cigarettes in public space and things of that nature. Now, that's not really a logical combination, at least in my mind. Unfortunately, that's amendment number 9. And then amendment number 8 is kind of interesting, too. While it's a logical mix, it talks about public schools, and it imposes, or at least it proposes to impose, a 8-year term limit on school board members. It also has some other features, such as an alternative process for approving public schools, in particular charter schools, rather than allowing local school boards to do that. It would also establish a new requirement for teaching of civic literacy in public schools. Now, how's that for a combination of things to decide yes or no on? So obviously, it's in our collective best interest to try to do the homework. I'm sure the papers are going to help us with that. League of Women Voters usually does a really good job of taking a look at and explaining it in common language. So please, before you step up, please vote first. And before you do that, do a bit of additional homework this time. Thank you.
This is in the November elections, right?
November elections.
November elections, okay. Okay.
No report this evening, Mayor.
Okay. Right.
I have 3 items. 2 of them are regarding the July 5th and the August 2nd meeting and need some direction on that. We did originally have a pretty stacked up July 19th meeting. As of this morning, that changed and that meeting opened up quite a bit. Last week, or 2 weeks ago at the council meeting, we looked at moving the July 5th meeting to another date, but we had a series of conflicts and was not able to do that. What I can tell you today, with the July 19th meeting being as light as it is, we can move the budget workshop to the July 19th if that's the council's desire, and cancel the July 5th meeting. So if the council would entertain that, I would just need some direction.
Is there anyone who has a concern about canceling the July 5th meeting?
That night.
As long as we can handle it.
As long as everything can be
Yes.
taken care of at the 19th, and I don't see a problem.
with that. That's
Okay.
fine.
All right, so on a consensus?
Everybody in agreement? That's good. Okay.
Okay.
August 2nd meeting is the last meeting before school starts.
Already?
Yes, school starts August 5th,
Yeah, the
13th.
13th.
August 13th.
They just let the kids out.
Yeah.
I know the
Seems
kids feel that
doesn't
way.
it? So we typically take that week off because of that, and I would need direction from council for the calendars if we want to do that again this year.
Well, the real question is, from an agenda calendar standpoint, is that something that would be doable?
Yes.
So there's no conflicts or timelines that would be disrupted?
No.
Okay. Is there a
Okay.
consensus with that?
I'm in agreement.
So it's canceling the first meeting of the month for July.
In August?
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, we do have a mandate to have a meeting
One.
once a month,
Yeah.
either the first or the third.
Okay.
Okay.
I think that works then.
Okay, and then the third is an update on State Road 7. There was a disheartening article in the newspaper the other week regarding West Palm Beach's latest stunt as it relates to stopping State Road 7. The newspaper article left out a lot of details, obviously, and so I went to get some of that detail. And I'm just going to summarize the detail a little bit here for you. The bottom line is, in 2014, the South Florida Water Management District and the Northern Water Control District did issue permits to DOT for State Road 7. West Palm Beach challenged the Water Management District permit, and they lost. Testimony was made at that hearing, saying that the lakes in Ibis are basically at their point that they can't take any more pollution whatsoever, and not even can they not even take pollution, but they can't even take any more water, whether it was clean or not, because if it does, it go beyond this flash point and create a flood of pollutants into the water catchment area. They lost that argument, but the Water Management District did notice Northern Water Control District that says if there's a problem with your ponds, you need to clean it up. They subsequently looked into their ponds and came up with a 4-point mitigation plan to improve the Ibis Lake system. That plan is about $4 million worth of work. Being that they're a water control district, that is just assessed directly back to the Ibis owners to do that work. Well, in 2015, West Palm Beach appealed their loss to the Water Management District, and in that appeal, they challenged Northern Water Control District permit issuance to DOT. Northern was fighting that challenge, and they've spent over $1 million, which was also assessed back to the Ibis property owners. And they, instead of letting it go all the way to court, they did end up settling with West Palm Beach. And so the settlement has two parts. The first part is what they agreed to do with the Water Management District, which was fertilizer control, pumping controls to increase residence times of the drainage system, pesticide prohibitions, sediment control plan. And then they agreed to do some things with West Palm Beach. They agreed to revoke the existing FDOT connection permit across a 14-foot by 22-foot fee simple piece of land owned by Northern. When the permit expired, which the permit did expire earlier in this year, to connect the State Road 7 drainage to the Ibis Lake system. The Northern permit did expire. They also agreed to allow West Palm Beach to sign off on any future Northern Water Control District permits for Ibis. Of course, West Palm Beach is now not agreeing to reissue the permit to DOT for that connection. And they also, Northern Water Control District had to object to any future efforts of FDOT to force a drainage connection to Ibis Lakes. West Palm Beach also agreed to be responsible for 85% of the $4 million mitigation plan, and West Palm Beach had the was granted the authority to sign off on any future permits. That's where it's at today, and what it is about a 14-foot by 22-foot fee simple piece of property owned by Northern that the DOT needs permission to go through to connect the drainage into the ponds. DOT has not decided how they're going to deal with this. They assured us they will deal with it, and they're currently just looking at all their options, and hopefully we'll come up with one that gets it resolved sooner rather than later. And hopefully there is an option out there that gets it done sooner rather than later. I hope.
You want to add anything to that from a legal perspective, John? No? Okay.
We talked to John Fumero, who was the lead litigator for FDOT during the water management trial, and he said that FDOT is fully exploring all options, and he feels confident that they will act, and they will act accordingly, and they will get it done. he asked us not to share a whole lot more publicly because they're still trying to vet out exactly how they're going to proceed. But Ray can speak to you a little more about that individually later.
Okay. What I'd like to add to that, then it was announced this morning at the TPA meeting that FDOT had issued a formal press release on this issue. And the press release shared the following information. That one, FDOT has in fact awarded a contract of $49.5 million to a contractor to do this project. So they've awarded the contract. Someone's been hired to do the work. They also indicated that, yes, it's true, they did receive a letter from the North Palm Beach County Improvement District that terminating their permits immediately. All right, so this agreement that was discussed, which I just have to say, I don't see how that works legally, but I'll leave that to the attorneys. And they acknowledge that, yes, that has happened. They received that letter, and then they closed the statement by saying, FDOT affirms it is committed to the State Road 7 extension project. And at that point, I think they said that that's all they're going to say for now. So I just wanted to share that it is, I'm sure, one of them told me this is about, I don't know, about 3 years ago, there was a big meeting at the fairgrounds on this, and one of the FDOT reps told me that, you know what, because we had like 2,000 people showed up at this meeting, and they said, you know what, don't worry about this. He says, this is not our first rodeo. So I remember that. They said it's not their first rodeo, so I still believe the project will prevail. I'm amazed at the amount of money that West Palm Beach is throwing at this, but that's their city, and they run the city the way they want to run their city. So with that, thank you. That covers it. State Road 7 update. Anything else, Jan? No?
No, I have no report. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. All right, that concludes our reports for this evening. Right now, if there's anyone here who has a petition to present to the council, now would be the time to do that. You have a petition? No. Oh, okay. Sorry. All right, seeing no petitions, we'll close for petitions. Now we're going to take statements from the public on non-agenda items and agenda items. Now, I know some of you submitted comment cards and you put on there it was a non-agenda item, but guess what? It is an agenda item. All right, we modified our agenda, and it's part of our consent agenda. It's consent agenda item number 4, having to do with the Harvard Center. So I'll just call you up, and I just want to, we reclassified it as they are non-agenda item comments. So with that, we'll start out with Ron Blicksilver on a non-agenda item.
Could you pass these out? If you've gone to Crestwood.
Introduce yourself, sir.
I'm sorry?
For the record, introduce
Name and
yourself.
address.
Is it on?
It's green now.
Okay. Is
Okay.
it lit? Yeah.
Okay. If you travel on.
Name and address.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
First time in a long time.
I know, it's been a
Ron
while. How you doing,
Blicksilver,
Ron?
Van Gogh Way, Royal Palm Beach, since 2000. On Crestwood, south of Van Gogh, the homeowner has these signs that say no trespassing. Now, the one close to the home is no problem. You see the home. But if you flip it and look at the other side, you're going to see, you can barely see the other sign 100 feet down.
I see it, yeah.
Now,
Is that their property? Is that the homeowner's property?
That's the home, and yet I verified that is his property line. Now, some time ago, I passed there and saw something that could lead to a stand your ground situation because somebody wanted to sit or move and the people came out. Before the sheriff office took over, I was with the police department, the volunteer. I pulled up on that patch of property to change passengers, and I was shooed away. I had to go a little bit further. I was told then that you cannot make somebody or make them take the sign down. What I am asking for, if you put up a no trespassing sign, pass an ordinance, you have to fence it.
You have to fence the property?
Fence the property. Show the mark of the property that is not to be trespassed on.
I got you. So people will know what the boundary is.
Exactly.
Okay.
To see that sign, if you look at the background, that looks like a picnic area. You've got the lake, you've got a little weed there, but we won't go into that. But sorry, Ray. It's getting better. Thank you. But before this goes much further, before there is an incident of stand your ground, and I do think there are people that could do that, feel that, okay, that's my story, and I'm going to ask you to see if you can do something with an ordinance to do that.
Well, I don't know what we're going to do, but we'll certainly look into it. How long has this been like this? Do you know?
Years.
This is, for years?
Years.
These signs have been there for years?
These signs.
Okay.
These signs have been there.
Take a look into it.
We'll take a look at it with the
Okay.
sheriff's office. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Wow.
Never thought about it that way. Seen it.
All right, now we have some comment cards for consent agenda item number 4. And we'll start with Deb Gaylor. Gaylor?
Is there someone else, sir, that could go ahead of me, or is it just me?
You don't have to, you don't want to go first?
No, but I think that I would support with someone else.
Cheryl Benamisti?
She's a good one to start with.
I picked the right one?
Yes. Fine with it.
Okay, that's fine. You're the closer? She's the opener? Is this like baseball?
I'm Cheryl Benfinisty, 1486 Donovan's Lane. I'm a proud citizen of Royal Palm Beach, and a very proud director of the Royal Palm Beach Shopping Center. And I want to start off thanking each and every one of you for allowing us to be your guests and helping us help the citizens of Royal Palm Beach with our Child Development Center. We have children there that are really thriving. Oh, thank you so much. That helps. You missed the best part.
You got to start all over now.
We have children that are really thriving, whether they have disabilities, whether they come to us not speaking English, whether they come from an at-risk family. We are getting them to hopefully succeed in school, really starting them off with a great foundation to be at level with their peers, and also helping the families. So there was a statement before that if services are available in the community and resources are available, you want to know about it. Now I think my voice is being heard loud and clear now. We're here and we're giving some really great services. I have some wonderful families here that maybe will say a few words. That the families are also thriving. Many of them are single moms. Maybe there's a mental health problem. We have many, many of the services that 211 has. And we help the families in a wide variety of services. The point being, as you well know, June 30th is soon coming up. We definitely are looking for a new location because we want to keep giving these wonderful services to children and families. But we do ask you very respectfully to please let us stay in this facility until we get a really good option to make the children very comfortable and have a safe environment for everyone. So that's really why we're here, and I think you're going to hear some very eloquent speakers. But I have had the pleasure of working with these families and really seeing the success, really seeing the lives change. And that helps each and every one of us, every one of you, because we're really helping to shape the future, keeping that crime down, making people, and it really does affect everything. Building a strong economy. We give parents educational meetings where they learn to be self-sufficient economically, job preparation, get GEDs, whatever they need help in, we supply them with resources to the community. I'm really proud to do it, and I hope I get to continue.
I got a question for you.
Certainly.
Are you having a challenge finding a new look? Because this is like
has been
6
very
months ago
challenging.
we talked about this.
Yes, and I agree with that. It has been very challenging because of all of the rules and regulations. You can't just move into a building. It has to meet all of the codes. We are currently working with one particular school, and I know Ms. Turner will be able to explain it better than I, but we do have things on the table. We've come very, very close, and the offer was pulled out from under us, no fault of our own.
When you say you're working on something, are you like a few weeks away? I mean,
I'm
what
going
kind of
to
window?
bow to Ms. Turner's expertise.
Okay,
because
does someone
she's
else
really
answer
doing-
that?
But
Okay.
we are very diligently working on that. We've not given up at all.
Let me be very clear with you, though. We absolutely are thankful. Thank you for the services that have been provided.
Thank
And if
you.
you recall, when we addressed this some 7-8 months ago, we were very concerned as a council because we didn't want to have these services leave our community. We
Right.
want,
Absolutely.
this is something that you absolutely want to be in the community because it's a tremendous asset for the citizens that partake in it. So this is not about the quality and the significance of those services. All right, thank you for your comments.
Thank you very much.
Next, we're going to hear from Julia Sirocco. Is it doctor? Is it doctor? So far. No, okay, yeah, I was looking at the DR. Doctor, please come up, sir. Make sure the light is on.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. My name is Dr. Julian Serrano. I'm the Executive Director for Head Start, Early Head Start for Palm Beach County. And I'm here to support the comments and what Susan's going to say. If the extension is not granted, there is no doubt that those families will be without services. We do not have the ability to transfer the license. We don't have the ability to take federal money and say, hey, we're doing this. We need to follow a due diligence process. And when we talk to licensing, they explain to us, Julian, it's going to take the wide couple of months. So we believe that by August the 30th, this should be materialized. So the extension that she was mentioning is for August the 30th.
Well, let me ask you a question, though. All right, so you're saying, you've answered part of the other question was, how much time are you looking for here? And you're saying if you had a 1 to 10, and 10 being the highest confidence level, how confident are you about this August 30th?
According to what the CEO has reported to me, I'm 100% confident.
Okay. All right. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your comments, sir. Okay. Susanna? Turner?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the Village Council. I'm Suzanne Turner, the CEO of the YWCA of Palm Beach County. On behalf of our Board of Directors of the YWCA, I too wish to thank the Village for enabling us to provide preschool services in the Harvin Center to over 1,500 working class families during the past 21 years and providing jobs to a group of men and women residing in this community who have been so committed to the education, the growth, and the development of the village's young children. Needless to say, back in November when it was decided that the Harvin Center would be closing on June 30th, I certainly had no thoughts that I would have to be here tonight. Trust me, I did not want to come back. Apparently, I was a little bit over-optimistic due to the expansion out in this part of the county. I thought there would be no problem rapidly finding an appropriate center and that we would have moved some time ago, but it hasn't happened. I am pleased to say, however, that we have obtained an existing center to lease, and both parties, both the tenant and the landlord, have met with the Department of Health, initiating the process for the YWCA to obtain a license for the site. We can't just move or transfer a license. We have to give up our license and apply for a new license. The existing center that's being leased is here in the Royal Palm Beach area. Since we are the only Head Start center for a number of miles, our families would not have to be displaced out of the area if we could get this
I
facility.
just want to say what you're saying. You're saying your new site is still going to be in the area?
Yes, sir.
Well, that's good news.
Yes. So unfortunately, though, working with licensure, we cannot be scheduled for approval by the licensing board until their August 8th meeting, with the intention of being in by the time school starts on August 13th. Thus, to avoid the interruption to these families and children, and you see a number of our families here, and for them to have to move to another site for 2 or 3 weeks, or in fact be without care, we are requesting an extension until August 30th, allowing time to move all the furnishings after we get the children out and transferred to the new site. We very much appreciate your consideration of this request for an extension.
Okay, thank you for the information. And now, does the closer need to close?
I'm going to get emotional.
Don't get emotional.
Deb Geller.
You're going to make us get emotional.
Go ahead.
2A Amherst Court, Royal Palm Beach.
You're fine.
My granddaughter attends the Y. She's 4. She attended 3 other schools in the area, and not to put them down, but this school loves and hugs and teaches kindness and teaches compassion and just the diversity in the school for 4-year-olds is you can't compare it to anywhere else. There's lower income families who get subsidized. They have nowhere to go for those 3 weeks. The camps are filled up. It's too late. It's just a couple weeks, you guys. Just a couple more weeks. I don't see a date on here for the demolition. Yay, I did a little dance when I didn't see a date.
Did you read the details?
I did. Well, on here I did.
Okay. Because that's just a
Got me.
summary.
But anyway, it's a couple of weeks. And you know, they'll just all move to the new center. Nobody will have a break where they forget everything. You know, she just really clearly learned to say tomorrow. I think she'll lose that if they don't keep telling her there, tomorrow. So that's it. Their jobs, you know, folks have, the mothers have jobs, the single moms, they have to arrange for time off from work. Yikes. Couple of weeks. That's it. And I close. Thank you so much for letting me speak.
Okay, thank you. Since this is a consent agenda item, I guess we would have to pull it so we can discuss it, right?
You
So-
want me to?
Yeah,
Well, you have to
If
finish.
we could finish the comment and then,
Right.
right.
that's all the comments I have.
Oh, you have them?
Yeah,
Okay.
unless someone else would like to speak, I have no other on this subject. All right, come on up.
Good afternoon. I'm Tanika Reed, 123 Lexington Drive, and I'm similar to the young lady who just spoke. My daughters and I actually went to the YWCA for a couple of years, and I believe in their curriculum. I believe in what they do as a center, and I have compared them to the knowledge my daughter has gained while going there to a more expensive center that's also here. And I do believe her education that she has gotten there exceeds what her friend is getting at a more expensive center. And I think as they're asking for an extension, and an extension that we heard is a definite period in time, I think that should be given great weight. While I understand why the Harvin Center is being demolished to build something else that will serve the community, we do have to, you know, I would encourage you to focus on our young children. I would encourage you to keep them as stable as they are, so they can continue their progress. We talk about building a community here at Royal Palm. We love to talk about our community, and I think our children are the foundation of our community. And having a stable place to go to, I think, is quite important. As a mother, a single mother, that if I had to find someplace else for my daughter to go, that would be a hardship on me. And I'm sure it would be a hardship on other people as well. That affects our jobs, that affects different things. I also want to point out, as Ms. Cheryl said before, the things they offer to parents. It's not just a center. They do offer classes for people to come in and learn about financial planning, home buying experiences, and things of that nature. So while it serves our children well, it also does more by helping the parents of those children. And I think it would be quite a shame if they could not be granted the extension requested.
Thank you for your comments. I have another comment card from Tanu Pena. Do you want to speak, or you just want to say you support the extension? Come on up.
Good evening, Council. I'm a member of the Council. I'm Mayor. Tanu Pena, 280 Ponce de Leon Street, Royal Palm Beach, Florida. I'm here to also ask for support for the extension. Both my kids actually went through the facility. Now my oldest is going to college. He's going to UCF. My youngest is going to be graduating from our IB program here. And I have to attest to the fact that if it wasn't that my child was enrolled in that facility, his speech impediment wouldn't have been caught. So not only do they provide the educational aspect for our kids, they also have the other programs that help identify issues that could, impact them socially and help them integrate in school. So because of that, he was able to get an IEP program while he was at H.L. Johnson, and that really helped him with his social skills. So the point of the matter is, this facility has served this community very well, and I think it will be just a good faith effort for us to extend such gratitude that have provided opportunities for our kids to excel, by giving them an opportunity to continue to provide for our kids in this community, and while they look for a new facility so that they can ensure that we have leaders coming out that will come back to our great village and do great things. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so that was closer number 2, right? All right.
As middle relief.
Is middle
relief.
Okay. I don't have any further comment cards on this agenda item, consent agenda item, but if anyone else would like to speak, now's the time. If not, I'm closing public comment on agenda item, consent agenda item number 4. So with that, do we have to have a read before we poll?
Did you say that I want to?
Yes, if the village clerk could read them,
Okay,
and then we can have.
So go forward with the consent.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Number 1, approval of the minutes of the council regular meeting of June 7th, 2018. 2, approval of a special event permit for the Village of Royal Palm Beach to hold its annual Star Spangled Spectacular at Royal Palm Beach Commons on Wednesday, July 4th, 2018 from 4 p.m. until 10 p.m. 3, approval and authorization in accordance with established policy to make a budget amendment for Fund 303 in the fiscal year 2017-2018 budget. Said amendment to transfer a total of $66,000 from undesignated fund balance 3990100 to Harvin Center Demolition, PW 1801. 4, authorization for the village manager to enter into a contract with Amazon Construction LLC, the lowest responsive bidder for demolition of the Harvin Center in accordance with the plans and specifications for the Harvin Center demolition, PW 1801, in an amount not to exceed $93,500, which includes building demolition and asbestos removal.
Thank you. Okay, and comment now?
Pull number 4.
Okay.
Second.
If we could pull both.
Okay.
Just because they're related to each
Okay.
other.
Pull 3 and 4, and I guess my question would be to Jennifer. Neither of these have a time included in them, so
But we'll get into that in the discussion.
okay.
Okay.
So-
Right now, we want to pull them.
Okay.
For discussion. All right.
I make a motion?
I thought that was a motion.
No,
No,
to
I
approve
pulled
the
it.
other
I
two.
didn't. We don't need to pull motions to pull them, do we? We just pull them.
Will you pull them and make the motion to approve?
Aren't we approving the
To
other
approve
two?
the remainder.
We can approve the other two.
Okay. Move to approve the other 2.
6 of 1. half a
There you
dozen
go.
of the other.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to pull agenda item, consent agenda items 3 and 4 and approve the rest of the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so Diane, let the record show that we will have discussion on consent agenda items number 3 and 4, and everything else was approved. And, okay, Richard.
I guess my questions are, neither 3 nor 4 have a date listed in them for construction, when it's supposed to begin at all. So am I correct in that? My reading is?
I was just talking to the village manager. Under the proposal terms, it does say that the contractor is ready and available within 30 days. But we were also talking about if council gave the extension that was requested tonight, what we could do is go back to the contractor and check with their schedule and see if they would be available to do that work if we issue the notice in September.
What it is, if we don't specify a date, it's 30 days. So we can specify a date greater than that, and as long as he agrees, that's fine. So we can specify a date of September 1st for the notice to proceed, and then we can get all our paperwork in order and things like that, and that will be consistent with the contract.
Okay. And that seems to me to be the most reasonable course. I don't see the reason for, not keeping the folks for two months. The wrecking ball's not there on July 1st. So I hopefully, as I've had a discussion with Ms. Turner, by 95% sure we're going to get to the new place that's going to be close by. And as the mayor said, we do want to keep the services in our community, because we do realize how important they are.
The doctor said 100%.
Well, that's not what I heard. I'm going with Ms. Turner.
I want to go with the doctor.
But in any event, that's what my suggestion would be to grant the extension. Now, would that, Jennifer, be just carrying on the lease month to month for the next 2 months?
Yeah, what you all approved before was just extending the existing lease on the exact same terms through June 30th. So we'll just do another addendum doing the exact same thing through August 31st, and it will give them until the end of the month.
Okay.
Of August, yes.
That's what my suggestion is.
I don't, and I would say is, I don't mind the extension. My only concern is because the amount of work that goes into the building to maintain it, if there is anything that goes wrong or happens, who does the responsibility lie on in between that time period?
The largest risk is the air conditioning system. And we knew the condition of this building going through. We knew that the moisture content issues that we had with it, and the way we control that is with a efficient running air conditioning system. Not wanting to spend $40,000 if it were to go out, and we put it in the lease 5 years ago, 2013, that if it needed to be redone, it'd be the tenant's responsibility to do it. Extending that same lease would keep that same responsibility on the tenant.
So that's an understanding.
All right, so we know where the risk, who's bearing the risk here. Who could speak on this? Ms. Turner, can you come up, please? Come on up.
You get a beautiful breeze over there. I just wanted to.
Come on up.
Ms. Turner, come on up. So that way, we just want to make sure anything that we decide here, we want to make sure that you are in fact in agreement with it. Okay.
If that air conditioner goes out, let's pray that we have the coldest July.
I got to tell you, I think we're in for a hot summer.
With the state of Florida.
Yeah.
We'll figure out something here.
Okay. Just stay until we finish this, because any other questions, we just want to make sure that you're in agreement with anything that we determine here. Okay? Can you just?
Exactly.
You're
tough.
Air conditioner, not the downstairs.
Okay. Well, there's another question that we have to ask, but.
So when we first talked about this many months ago, I think there was my sense was that the council was hopeful that you would find a place, and that we wind up at the 11th hour, of course, doesn't create as much stress as it does for you. However, the opportunity here to extend this is very appealing for a number of reasons, and not the least of which is a summer slide issue. It really does impact, as you know, and so the timing of this, and with a date certain, with either a 90% or 100%, depending on whose estimate you take, I think this is something we can do, and I think it's certainly something I'd support.
Okay.
Just a quick question. I support an extension too, but thinking ahead, if something were to happen and something else fell through, do you have backup plan C?
I'm looking for backup plan C.
All right.
I've been so close 3 times now in 6 months that I just keep looking. I can't trust anything without a backup.
Well, we'll send positive thoughts your way.
Thanks.
All right, I have a question. What about the other tenants in the building?
Lou can answer this, but I believe they already made accommodations over at the rec center.
They
Am
all
I
kind
wrong
of
on that?
vacated already?
Community center or rec center?
We extended it. We did talk to CAFSIDE about going to the rec center and space there. I don't know what they've done as far as reserving and renting space there. As far as the church, I believe the church left, or
They were still there last week.
they still there?
No, he's not asking. He's asking.
Yeah.
He's asking
Coming out.
Lou's on his way out.
We were talking about the other 2 tenants, and I know that you talked to CAFSIDE about reserving space and renting space at the rec center. I don't know what they did about reserving that.
They
And
haven't
as far as
reserved.
They have not.
They have not reserved anything. We told them we had the room available to them, but
And
we
the
have not
church,
heard
is the
anything.
church already gone, or are they still waiting until going to at the end of the month?
No, the church hasn't. We haven't had any more communication with the church.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so the question is, what if the other tenants come back and say to us, "Oh, we heard you guys extended it. Can we also stay for 2 more months?" What's our position?
Cross that bridge when we come to it.
What'd you say?
Said we cross that
the
bridge
bridge?
when we come to it. Don't speculate on something that may never come
No,
up.
but before we make a decision, we need to look at all.
If you all could
Full
just
impacts.
direct the manager tonight, if we are approached by one of the 2 tenants to do an equal lease
How to
extension,
respond.
just give him the authority to sign that, so we don't have to bring it back
By
to
the
you.
same date.
Right.
Okay, if it's that simple, fine.
It would be, and
Okay,
then
that's what I'm asking. That way, it's the answer. All right, so let me see if I summarize this. This is Councilman Romero used a term which is a kind of a legal term for us from a government standpoint. He used the term time certain. Time certain means if we were to grant the extension, it is absolutely in concrete that August 30th is it, and September 1, the wrecking ball is going to come through. We just want you to be very clear
I
about
understand
that.
that, sir,
Okay?
very much. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you
And-
for the consideration.
And I appreciate everyone coming out and sharing your information and experiences. You know, as we said before, this is not something we wanted to see leave the village. We think it's one of the things that makes Royal Palm Beach, Royal Palm Beach. So thank you for the work that you've done, and we hope you're going to be successful and continue to be able to provide these services within the community. And with that, unless there's other questions or comments, I'll look for a motion.
I make a motion to approve the extension of the lease of all the tenants in the Harvin Center till the 31st of August.
And what about agenda item 3 and 4?
And then make a motion to, to approve items 3 and 4 to transpire on after the 31st of August.
Okay.
Do that?
Notice to proceed.
This is awarding the contract.
Yeah.
So if we could,
We have to do 2 separate votes?
let's do the extension separate and then approving 3 and 4.
Okay.
With the direction that we would do a notice to proceed
Okay.
after August 31st.
All right, so your original motion was grant the extension to August 30th or 31st? Is it 31st?
the Friday, the 31st.
Oh, okay. All right.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We have no opposed. Diane showed that the motion to extend to August 31st was approved.
And do you want me to do another motion for the 3? Do you want me to do another motion for 3 and 4?
Yeah, 2 separate motions, right? We have to do them separately.
You can do them together.
Together? Okay.
And just,
Time certain.
Work doesn't
After
start until
August 31st.
September 1st.
a notice to proceed would
September 1st,
not, yeah.
okay.
You can say notice to proceed, not until
Okay.
September 1st.
So, and I make a motion to approve consent agenda items number 3 and 4 to proceed after September 1st.
The notice to proceed.
The notice to proceed after September 1st.
September 1st or after, maybe?
After is fine. We understand.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane showed that consent agenda items 3 and 4 were approved 5-0. So, thank you. That concludes the consent agenda. Now, I'm going to give a 2-minute recess for any of you who do not wish to stay for the remainder of the meeting. Please leave quietly. I'll give you 2 minutes to move.
Not you.
Thank you for coming.
Confirming a council action. The applicant is seeking final plat approval for the plat of Sparrow Place, platting 2 tracts of land totaling approximately 0.57 acres and is located at 138 Sparrow Drive.
Great, thank you,
You're
Mayor.
on, Bradford.
The land being platted lies within the multifamily residential zoning district and conforms to the platting requirements of Village Code. Specifically, Section 2224 in regards to the plat contains all information as required and meets all dimensional requirements for the multifamily residential zoning district. Staff is recommending approval of this application. And with that being said, Mayor, I'll turn the floor back over to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bradford. Does the applicant choose to make comments?
Hello, my name is Dan Waleski. I work with Wallace Sanger, who's the applicant. Wally wasn't able to meet it and just wanted me to express his appreciation for staff. Brought back a lot of fond memories back in the 80s and 90s when he was building quite a bit in Royal Palm.
Wally's been around a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, Wally's been here for quite a while, and he's semi-retired now and just likes to build a little bit. So this is a very nice duplex that's already been completed on Sparrow Drive. If you haven't seen it, it's a really nice addition to the
I've seen
neighborhood.
it. It's very nice.
It's
Yeah.
just getting everything cleaned up.
Like-
So again, we appreciate all your time.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, I do not have any comment cards on this agenda item R1, but if anyone would like to comment, now would be the time. Okay, seeing none, I'm closing public comment on agenda item R1 and comments from council. If there are no comments from council, we'll look for a motion.
Motion to approve regular agenda R1.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R1 was approved 5-0. Agenda item R2 is also a public hearing. Good luck. Tell Wally I said hello. Public hearing to consider application number 17-0052 is an application by 700 Royal LCC and adoption of resolution number 18-19. Special exception for an automobile and/or watercraft repair and/or service station on approximately 1.1 acre site located at 700 Royal Commerce Road. Graphic, you're on. You have to read
real
by
quick,
title. This
yeah.
is a quasi-judicial. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Where
This
am I?
is quasi-judicial, so if I could have the applicant, anyone from your team going to be speaking tonight, and staff, if you could raise your right hand and I'll swear you in. Just raise it just in case. Thank you. All right. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Oh, I'll ask counsel if they have any ex parte disclosures that they need to make.
None.
All right. Thank you.
The proposed automobile and/or watercraft repair and/or service station will occupy the east building, which contains 4,000 square feet of floor area. The property is located within the industrial Limited Zoning District. Pursuant to Section 2532F4, Village Council is able to approve special exceptions when finding that it is consistent with standards of the village's comprehensive plan, complies with development regulations of village code, does not have adverse environmental impacts, does not have adverse vehicle or pedestrian impacts, does not have adverse impact upon public facilities, does not have adverse impacts on adjacent properties, compatible with the character and living conditions of the existing neighborhood, does not have an adverse impact on property values in adjacent areas, it's not a deterrent to the improvement or development of adjacent properties. In reviewing this proposed special exception, village staff considered compatibility with adjacent land uses, consistency with the village's comprehensive plan, and conformance with the village's development standards for the industrial limited zoning district. Staff has determined that the proposed special exception conforms with village standards. The Planning and Zoning Commission considered this application on June 21st, 2018 and recommended approval. And I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Bradford. All right, for this agenda item R2, I do not have any comment cards submitted, but if anyone would like to comment on this, now would be the time. I'm sorry, before we take public comment, does the applicant want to make any comments?
I think they're just going to make themselves available to answer any questions, Mayor.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
I think that they were just wanting to make themselves available to answer any questions.
Okay. I just wanted to give you the opportunity. I'm sorry. All right. So if anyone from the public would like to comment, now would be the time. We have no cards submitted. And seeing none, then I'm going to close public comment on agenda item R2. And Celine.
God bless you. I just had a quick question.
Don't-
Is it
don't
your
start that
first?
again.
Yeah.
Nicole.
Is this the first business you've opened? Or have you opened a business like this before?
If you could come to the podium
Yeah,
and just
sorry
state your
about
name.
that,
Thank you. And your address.
My name's Drew Discount, and our building is 700 Royal Commerce. So you asked if we opened a business like this. I have been in the truck industry my whole life since I've been 16. It's been mainly a hobby, but I do own a business that is excavation. In Wellington, we actually build horse arenas, so this is just strictly something to diversify, have fun with, and be successful. My partner also has a large, successful landscaping company, so it's really just something to kind of have fun with and try to diversify. And we wanted to own some industrial real estate, so that's why we purchased the building. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Any other comments or questions from members on council? If there are none, we'll look for a motion.
I make a motion to approve regular agenda item number 2.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that regular agenda item number 2 was approved 5-0. Good luck. Congratulations.
Good luck.
Okay, agenda item R3 is a public hearing to consider application number 17-68. An application by Centerpoint Integrated Solutions, LLC, in adoption of resolution 18-13, confirming council action. The applicant is seeking a site plan and architectural approval for a 6,852 square foot commercial building on approximately 49.95 acre parcel of land that's located at the northwest corner of Lamstein Lane and Southern Boulevard. So I guess this is the final out parcel over there?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
This is a quasi-judicial process, so we need to have them sworn in.
Thank you. Anyone from the applicant's team and village staff, if you could raise your right hand, I'll swear you in. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. And now I'll ask council if anyone has any ex parte disclosures that they need to make.
No.
All right, thank you.
Great. The proposed building is replacing a previously proposed 7,250 square foot restaurant with a 514 square foot outdoor seating area. This is the last remaining vacant parcel on the west side of the western retention pond, shown here and outlined in blue. The proposed commercial building will be a single-story building and will incorporate many of the design features of the other existing buildings on the site, or the inline building on the site. The proposed development plan does not change or add any new access points to the shopping center from the adjacent roadways. Here's a slide of the building architecture. Again, incorporating features of the main inline stores with some branding for the Metro Diner with use of the green awnings. This slide illustrates the north and east elevations. The slide illustrates the south and west elevations. The top elevation is a facade that's facing southern, or that will face southern. This is an illustration of the landscape plan, which meets village code. The applicant intends to use live oaks and Alexander palms as the dominant tree canopy with various ground covers. The Planning and Zoning Commission considered this application and voted to recommend approval of this application. Staff is recommending approval of this application, and I'll turn the floor over to you, Mayor. Thank you.
Thanks, Bradford. All right, Al, how you doing?
Very well, Mayor. Thank you. Good
to see
evening.
you again.
Mayor, Council, for the record, Al Malafato for the applicant. And we're pleased to be here, and we appreciate staff support on this. I'm accompanied tonight by the project architect, James Cohen, and the project engineer, Michael Carr. I would just add the two businesses that will be going into this space will be a Metro Diner restaurant and a Pacific Dental office. We have full agreement with staff report, and we'll be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Okay. I do not have any comment cards from the public on this agenda item R3, but if anyone from the public would like to comment, now would be the time. Seeing none, I'm closing public comment for agenda item R3. Open up for comments from members of council. If there are no comments, then I'll look for a motion.
Move to approve regular agenda item number 3.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R3 was approved 5-0. Good luck. Agenda item R4 is approval and authorization for the village manager to enter into an agreement with Lyft to provide a transportation assistance program. Very excited about this. This is something that we've been obviously all working on for a number of months, and I'm glad to see we're at a point to move forward with this. So I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. The program is intended to introduce its senior population to a safe, convenient, and cost-effective alternative to driving. The village would like to join forces with Lyft. And I say Lyft and not Uber only because I was able to understand the Lyft system and talk to people from Lyft and work out the parameters of setting something up. That doesn't mean that we're going to exclude Uber in the future. I think if we can work something out with them. I was on the internet today looking at Uber and looking at different things that they're doing, and there's a lot of talk about programs that they are testing out there and specifically targeting to the senior community. So I don't want to exclude them. I think sometime in the future I may be bringing something back to you with them. But for right now, I think we need to get started with Lyft because they do have something in place that meets the parameters that we can do here. We'd like to offer discount shared rides to our senior population. The seniors would have to sign up for the program in the Parks and Recreation Department. I am recommending that rides be available to residents 65 and older, with the village paying 50% of the cost of each ride up to $40 a month, with the account balance being reset the first of each month. Eligible rides will need to originate and end within Royal Palm Beach or east along Okeechobee Boulevard to Jog Road and south along State Road 7 to Wellington Mall. And where those two distances come from is the way that Lyft sets their program up. It's just pick a centroid and it's a radius, and it's just one. You can't change it a whole lot. So when you look at Royal Palm Beach, we're approximately 3 miles east-west and 4 miles north-south. But I thought it would make more sense to make sure that both hospitals were in this radius. And then when you're looking at the hospital, it's like, well, the mall's just south of the hospital, so let's include it to the south of the mall. And then that takes the radius out east to Jog Road. And it takes it actually north and west, that same 4.7 miles. But I didn't have any necessarily landmark in Loxahatchee or the acreage to point out. But rides that do originate anywhere in that radius or end in that radius would qualify for the 50%, as long as the person was registered with the Village of Royal Palm Beach, where we will verify their age and where they live. At the end of each month, we would get a report from Lyft of what money was used and where the trips did originate from and go to. And then the count each account that was used would recalibrate back to $40, and then we would pay whatever was used for that month. We do have a total amount budgeted of $40,000. That would give us approximately 3,000 rides, maybe a little bit more. We're thinking an average ride is about $12. Rides can be cheaper depending on the time of day and whether you're willing to share them. If you get into the car and say, yes, I'm willing to share them, which means if there's somebody else to be picked up along your way, you share the cost. So that's just an average. I know that, when we looked at our senior study, one of the things that was talked about a lot was the STAR program that Wellington has. That program started out serving about 1,400 a year 4 years ago. This past year, they served 3,700 rides. So I think the 3,000 that we're estimating for right now is probably a good start. And with that, as far as how to use it, it will require a smartphone. I believe Lyft is also working on and I don't know exactly what this Jitterbug phone.
Yes, you have.
Okay. Which is apparently much easier to use.
You know what that is?
Okay. And they are working out a program where that type of phone can be used for this. And in reading their information, this is an up and coming thing for both Lyft and Uber. I found an article on the internet today that the new senior transportation, Uber and Lyft ride sharing, and they see that as a huge market in the future, and they are going to make it easier. They are working with cities and doctors and senior care providers to work out systems with them. So I think this is a good start. We are at the beginning of this. So as far as they're entering into this arena and us paying part of the cost. And the whole purpose for paying a part of the cost is 10 years ago, if you lived out in Royal Palm Beach and you weren't on the bus route, you didn't have a whole lot of choices on how to get around unless somebody was willing to drive you. There are I think it said over 26 million older Americans that do not have access to public transportation or rides. That's where Uber and Lyft see this as a pretty big market to get into. I think today with these shared rides, more affordable shared ride system than the cab system that we were familiar of years ago, that mobility is being increased for seniors. So I would like council approval to work out an agreement with Lyft under the parameters that I just explained to you tonight.
Okay. Before we take comment, I have not received any comment cards on this agenda item R4, but if anyone would like to comment, now would be the time. Come on up.
Sandy Rubin, 126 Village Walk Drive. I just want to know, as far as the drivers go, will they be background checked? Will they be, because I know Uber has not a very good reputation elsewhere. I don't know how it is going to be here. Thank you.
The county does have an ordinance on minimum background checks for these drivers. It's not a level 2 background check, but there is a minimal background check for them, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. No further comments from members of the public. Then I'm going to close public comment on agenda item R4 and open up for staff, council. Okay, Cynthia.
I just had, for the manager, just 2 quick questions. Number 1, to clarify, it's door-to-door service, correct? So they pick them up at the door, they drop them off at the outside of...
It is door to door.
Okay, and then the other one is that it's the $40 per individual, not per household.
Per
Correct.
Individual.
That's registered.
Thanks. That's registered, right.
That's
So if
correct.
you have 4 or 6 elderly people living in a home and that's their address, all 6 of them get.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Good questions. Any other questions, member on council? If not, I look for a motion.
I make a motion to approve regular agenda item number 4.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please show that agenda item historically, R4, was approved 5-0. And thank you to the staff and everyone who's been working on this. And I'm excited, and I'm glad that we've gotten to this point to get it moving.
This will be interesting.
Just, I guess, an aside, administrative, when do you project an actual launch date?
What we're going to do from here is Parks and Rec and myself will get on the computer, we'll get on the phone with Lyft and set up the account. And I'm hoping it's as easy as that, and it's set up by the end of that day. And hopefully that day is sooner rather than later. I hope to have all that done by July 1st, but I know that it's coming up quick, but it should be that simple.
We need to make available to our website, Diane Spector, the information so that people can go in there and actually, click on and kind of a notification. You could start registering when let them know when they can do that. Good. Good.
So just seeing Lou pop up to the mic, it struck me that along the lines of just sharing the information is helpful, but actually helping people to understand how they can use their phones and that type of thing through some kind of maybe sitting beside them while they do it the very first time might be an additional assistance that might be worthwhile considering at the rec center.
Okay. Good. All right, agenda item R5 is approval of the Young at Hearts Club bylaws, inclusive of Young at Hearts Senior Referral Program. This is something else that has been in the works for several months, and I'm glad to see we're at a point where we're ready to actually move forward with this. Right?
I'm going to turn this over to Lou Recchia, our Parks and Rec Director.
Oh, that's why Lou's up here. Okay.
He has been meeting alongside with me every time I've been meeting with the seniors, and he's been meeting with them outside of meetings that I've been at. So, and this is something that they kind of got started off in the Parks and Recreation Department and been working with Lou and Janine in. So I'll let Lou take it from there.
Thank you, Ray. Mayor and Council, basically the program that we're looking at is the Young at Heart Club bylaws are being modified to include a senior referral program. To administer a senior referral program, the program will assist seniors with access to needed available services provided and or listed in the Palm Beach County Guide to Services, the current binder. Area Agency on Aging, Palm Train Connection, Consumer Action Handbook by the U.S. General Services Administration. Needs may include health care, Social Security, taxes, insurance, transportation, elder abuse, and other concerns. Based on the needs assessment that we had last year, this is one of the recommendations that were made. There were 9 recommendations from the study. And with this, you're actually going to see, and I'm going to try to walk you through the whole process, that this will actually address 7 of the 9 recommendations. You've already approved one, which is the transportation program. That was one of the recommendations. The second is a professional staff assistance, which we're going to show you how it's included in the bylaws here. Securing of grants, we've already hired a advisor for our grant program. Self-assessments on ongoing and all programs, which we do for all of our programs continually. Providing training for staff and our volunteers. We do that. And we have staff, full-time and part-time. We've added and upgraded one of our staff people to accommodate this particular program. Providing space for agencies was another recommendation, which we can do at the rec center. We've already moved forward on that and actually have expanded our lobby. a service area, the service counter, to accommodate so that we can have the program volunteers that sit there and see the various people that come in the door that are looking for assistance. We've expanded that counter. We've given them a locked file cabinet so they can leave papers and everything in there. They have access to a computer that's out there and a phone. Up to this point, over the past couple of months or so, they've been meeting, coming in and servicing the public on 2 days a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, for a few hours. And then anything that happens after that time, usually they'll come to the front window and ask for any information, and we try to give it to them the best of our ability. But this is all these things will be addressed once the program is in place. It is really astounding on what has happened over the past couple of months. I mean, these few residents that have worked on this program, they've put together their own policies and procedures and looking at how we can train the various volunteers. But also keep in mind that what we're doing here, we're looking to put this senior referral program under the umbrella of the Young at Heart. And this is consistent with all of our other programs. It's consistent with, we have a baseball program and a provider. Underneath the umbrella of Youth Baseball Association, we have the softball program, we have the travel program. We have a youth soccer program. Under the soccer program, we have the travel program. Getting right down to our dance instructor. We have a dance instructor, and if somebody comes in and wants to submit a proposal for jazz, first thing we do is check with our instructor. Can you instruct a jazz program? Can you conduct this? If they can, fine. We say thank you for approaching us, but we have a provider. If not, if the instructor can't do that particular program, then we would consider talking further with the people. Martial arts is another one. Is my time up?
No. The fly got ahead of us on public comment. That's really weird.
The bottom line is, again, this is very consistent with what we're doing and what we've been doing for the last 20 plus years that I know of, and we do not want to duplicate any of our services. With that being said, you'll notice that included in the packet is the Young at Heart bylaws, and we have included in that an entire section. It's number 6, and unfortunately the pages aren't numbered. Senior Referral Program Committee. The Senior Referral Program is established to be responsible to various seniors' concerns beyond the scope of leisure activities. The committee will assist seniors with access to needed available services listed in subsection E below. Needs may include health care, Social Security, taxes, insurance, transportation, elder abuse, and other concerns. The steering committee oversight shall have no less than 3 members and be members of the Young at Heart in good standing. They will select their own chairperson and shall have a minimum of 4 meetings per year. Steering committee will be responsible for volunteer recruitment and training, outreach to and development of agency resources, program effectiveness and client satisfaction. Provide monthly reports to the Young at Heart Executive Committee and Senior Program Supervisor. And with this, there's a form that they've come up with that actually lists the clients or prospective clients that they've talked to and what the outcome is and whether there's a follow-up. And we want to make sure that we get that documentation so we can follow up also. develop policies and procedures for its operation, which they've already done a tremendous amount of work on. Monitor and access and modify their programs as necessary. Report regularly to the Young at Heart Executive Committee on committee activities. They say at least 4 times a year they need to make a report, but actually the chairman is a member of that executive committee. So they can actually bring up any issues at any time. Staffing. The last one is solicit input from the Young at Heart Executive Committee and its president. And basically this is, they're always going to give you their input if they see that something is needed. I mean, the Young at Heart is a great base for this program. You got over 300 members. And this is right there for their taking. And I think you're going to find a lot of volunteers will come out of there, and a lot of the people who need this service are going to come out of this.
Yeah.
But again, up to this point, it's my understanding they've already gotten 6 or 7 volunteers, and it hasn't been advertised, nothing's been in the press, because it truly isn't a program yet.
Okay, that's good.
The staffing, recommend that 2 volunteer staff at the desk at the Recreation Center lobby per the posted schedule. A desk with a phone, secure file storage, minimum office supplies, and a computer for volunteer use. This has all been completed. Volunteer recruitment and training. A list of people interested in volunteering will be maintained by the chairperson and provided to the senior program supervisor. That's that form that I was saying that we want to keep track of. Before answering calls and or meeting with clients, volunteers will receive basic training regarding the recommended resources, forms used to document action and follow-up. And again, to expand on that, this group has already met with some of the agencies downtown. And when you put a face to a voice, you can call all the time, but now there's that identification.
So they started establishing a relationship.
Exactly. Agency referrals will be limited to vetted agencies included in the Palm Beach County Guide to Services, the current year. That changes annually, so we have to make sure that we're current, and we've included the web page. Area Agency on Aging, Palm Train Connection, Consumer Action Handbook, U.S. General Services Administration. What clients can expect is comfortable carrying reception when requesting help, assistance in determining which services might best fit their needs or concerns, a volunteer to sit with them as outreach is made. Follow-up is needed with the client and or helping agencies with client's permission. In addition to setting up that front counter, that front service counter for them, we also have the ability to make available a room if they have to meet with somebody. Because right now, like in the summer, that lobby is crazy. And you can't really hear yourself think. But we will have a room and make it available for them if they have to meet with a prospective client.
Some privacy.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
So, we can make that space available. And if they weren't under the umbrella of the Young at Heart and it was a total separate entity, they would have to pay for the space in the rec center. Okay? And this alleviates that. And again, with all this and including this into the bylaws of the Young at Heart and coming under their umbrella, we pretty much meet all the recommendations that have been given to us by our needs assessment. And with that,
okay.
I'll answer any
Thank you
questions.
very much. I have a comment card for this agenda item R5. Judith Kohler.
Good evening. My name is Judy Kohler. I live at 138 Royal Pines Circle West.
And I've been here before, so you're probably a little familiar with me, but I'm representing the steering committee of the program, Senior Referral, tonight. And I think Lou has done a great job of explaining what we do. It has been a long and intense process, frankly, to develop this. And so we appreciate the support that we've had from the City Council. And we especially love the support we've gotten from Councilman Hamara, who has encouraged us when sometimes we get a little discouraged, and who has continued to support us. So that's been very helpful. And I would like to also recognize that we worked really hard with Mr. Liggins and, of course, Lou and Janine Delgardio, and they've been really fantastic staff. And we've gone back and forth on a lot of issues, as you can see from what we developed with our policies and procedures and appears in the bylaws. As Lou said, we have 6 people on our steering committee, and I represent them tonight. We will be electing officers at our next meeting. And we got 6 volunteers without even trying. So, and they've come from different places. So we are looking forward to, we're mapping out a plan to do our marketing or outreach so that people are aware of us. And we've already put together a list of some of the places we need to go, some of the places we need to distribute the literature. And we will be doing that in the future. And we are ready, I think, at this point, since we've done the pilot project, to see what are the bumps in the roads, what works, what doesn't, to start training our volunteers. So if you have any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer them.
Any questions for Judith? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank all of you.
And I just want to say,
especially the staff, again, I got to say.
Well, I want to say thank you to all of you who have put your own sweat and tears into this endeavor. And clearly, this is all about volunteerism, and we kind of said that, I don't know, was it 8 or 9 months ago, or whenever we went over this, that the vision of the council then was to see some type of volunteer program that you've come up with to be part of the Young at Heart's model. And believe me, we said it then and we'll say it now, you're going to get the kind of support that you really need to be effective and to make a difference to the people who are looking. And I think you're going to find a lot of members who are currently in Young at Hearts are going to be looking for services as well. So one feeds off of the other. So I congratulate all of you, congratulate staff and all of the work that's gone in. I know there have been many hours and many discussions, but I'm glad we're at a point now where we're ready to launch this and move forward. So this is truly another historic occasion for the village, an historic night in terms of us moving forward to do what we can to help make life better for the senior citizens in our village. With that, I'll open up for any further comments. Before we do that, I'll give one last chance. I only got the one card, but if anyone else would like to comment, now would be the time. Seeing none, then I'm closing public comment on agenda item R5. And Selena?
Just a quick question, and thank you very much as sitting on the Senior Citizen Ad Hoc Committee. Thank you very much for everything, and it's nice to see all the members here with that. The only question I had, and it's more of a terminology question, is Section D, number 6, Section D, Part 2. It's saying referring before answering calls and or meetings with clients. Does that give the impression that there is a fee involved versus saying using the word individual instead of clients, since this is a free service? That was my only question. Is
I'm sorry, what item was that?
If you go to item number 6, so is the
6D?
6D subset 2.
Before answering calls?
Correct. It's saying and or meeting with clients, and the terminology of clients, if that gives the impression that there is a fee involved when there's
fee, yeah.
Right. So I don't know if we should change that to individuals versus clients. That was my only thing. If it's not and it's easily understood, then that was my only question.
The client gives them more.
That's the term they chose, and that's the term they've put in all their documents, and that's the term they're using to refer to the people that are coming. So we left that in there like that, and there is no fee.
Right.
Okay. Okay?
That was it.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments from member on council? If not, I'll look for an historical motion.
I move to approve regular agenda item number 5.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please show that this historical item was approved, or agenda item R5. 5-0. And once again, thank you all. This is a good night. We're moving forward here.
Big things.
Yeah. I think that we don't have any other business before this council this evening, so before we adjourn, everyone have a safe time over the next few weeks. We go through the July 4th window and
See you at Commons.
yeah, well, that's to be determined. I might have to be in Georgia. All right, we stand adjourned. Thank you all. And thank